3Ders and welcome to the channel. Now my brother's bought an Xbox One. I know what you're thinking, he should have got a PS5. Luckily he's got a PS5 as well. I know, very spoiled. But he wanted something to hold his controller, so I made him this. This is an Xbox controller holder, which made by my very fine self. I'll show you where I got it from, show you how I painted it, and show you how it also fits the PS5 controller. Yay! Now, we purchased the file from Cults 3D. You can buy these in the shops, but way cooler to make your own. I had a bit of a nervous moment on the Anycubic Mono X. I think printing at -4 didn't help. It was a really cold day, but it clung on for grim death and it did print. Now, the important thing to do, don't forget with your prints, when they've all finished, make sure you clean them really, really well and use these little LED ultraviolet lights to cure the inside. You do not want splitting prints. I made this little gadget myself, just some LED lights, a 9-volt battery and a little on-off switch, and it does the job wonderfully. Now for the bigger items, I've got a nice big UV light that sits there and just blasts them till they're well and truly cooked. Make sure you've got one of those too. Right, here he is, all done and finished. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sand the joints down a little bit so he fits together a little bit better. But I'm really, really pleased how he's come out. He's come out in white, well, 2 prints actually. The 2 prints included the base, so really, really chuffed. First thing I'm going to do is give him a layer of black. Normally I do primer on my airbrush, but I had some of this paint lying around, so I gave him a blast with it. Probably not the right thing to do in this weather because it took forever to dry. So airbrush all the way forward when it's cold, I think. So giving him a little bit of a blast there, as you can see. And I've moved on to some Painter's Touch white for the base, and same kind of thing with this, give it a bit of a blast all over. It took ages and ages to dry again, so again airbrush may be the way forward when it's really, really cold. Slight defect on the print, but we'll get away with that. Now this stuff is brilliant. This is some light olive 66 paint, and this is the base colour. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give him a lick all over, a bit of a splattering. I don't want to cover up all the black, I just want to cover most of him up with this wonderful green, and that's a fantastic base colour, and the base is done. You can add all sorts of different shades, you can do it with an airbrush with all different colours, and I've done that before, but this will do nicely for what it is. Now once the paint's dried, and again took a couple of days, I've took some silver, some shining silver Army Painter paint, and I'm going to do some dry brushing. Now if you recall, in one of my last videos I showed you how to dry brush. Marvellous technique, and I'm going to fall back on it again today to do the highlighting on old Master Chief here. So once I've got some on my makeup brush, not my makeup brush, I hasten to add a makeup brush, I'm going to splatter him all over, light touches with some silver that I've taken the majority off on the paper, and we'll give him a lick all over. And I just want to make him look a little bit aged, a little bit battered, and make him look like he's done a few rounds with the Covenant. And easy, it's as simple as that. Dry brushing is a fantastic technique. Check out my previous video where I talk about dry brushing, tell you how to do it. So once you're happy that you have dry brushed him to death, don't overdo it obviously, but we certainly want to make sure we make him look a bit aged and a bit battered and a bit silvered. And there we go, I'm quite happy with how he's looking. I'm gonna exannuate, I love that word, make him stick out a bit more, some of the finer areas on him. So I've taken this, it's just a toothpick, nothing special, and I'm going to dip the toothpick into some of that silver paint, and I'm just going to use it to drag across some of the more prominent areas of his helmet and of his armour. Now what this does is it just adds a different kind of effect to the highlighting. The dry brushing is great and it does what it says on the tin, it will highlight it up a little bit, but a little bit of paint on the toothpick here just makes him look a little bit more battered, and looks like certain areas have seen a little bit more action, and just makes it look a little bit different. Now when I've done that, I've took some Greedy Gold and I'm going to paint his visor. It took about 3 coats to get an appropriate coat on his visor, in drying in between each one, but you've got to paint his visor nice and gold. Now it's not a huge amount of work gone into Master Chief here, but I think you'll agree he does look absolutely fantastic. A base colour of black followed by green, a little bit of dry brushing and some highlighting, and his visor, and Master Chief is pretty much done. Now for the base, I've used some of this Trent green, which I got from Army Painter, and I'm just going to paint the emblem. So a white background, I'm doing nothing else with this stand apart from painting the green emblem, and I want it to just stand out and really ping and pop, and that's what it will do. Once that's on and once that green is done, well, that's Master Chief done. Hope you've enjoyed everything you've seen today. Have a crack at making your own Xbox or PS5 holder, and here he is now. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel.